All right, it has begun. Republicans on the House Oversight Committee used their investigative powers today, grilling three former Twitter executives regarding the tech platform's anti-conservative censorship. Most notably, its 2020 effort to block users from sharing now confirmed, did I say confirmed, information about Hunter Biden's laptop. Conservatives have long been aware of the bias Silicon Valley tech giants hold against their views, which was confirmed by the release of Elon Musk's Twitter files. And so we see this convergence. The Republicans now have control of the House so they can actually have hearings. They can bring forth this information. At the same time, Elon Musk buys Twitter, releases information. Folks, get the popcorn. This is going to be interesting. Join me now to talk about this, Congressman Pat Fallon. He serves on the House Committee on Oversight and Accountability and on the House Armed Services Committee. He represents the 4th Congressional District of Texas. Congressman Fallon, welcome back to the program.
Tony, thanks for having me. How are you?
I'm doing well. I was watching most of the hearing today. It was pretty long. What was your takeaway from this oversight hearing looking at Twitter and their censorship?
Well, Tony, I was struck by several things. One of which was I asked Joel Roth if he felt that Twitter had been biased when he was employed there, and he said that he said no, they weren't. I said, well, that's interesting because 99.7% of Twitter employees in the 2022 election cycle donated to Democratic candidates, and only like a tiny fraction of Republicans. So clearly there was an overall bias. But then I asked him if did he hold a personal political bias? He denied that. And then we showed a quote where he compared Trump White House officials as Nazis. He compared them to Nazis, the most evil, monstrous folks on the planet that are responsible for 60 million people's deaths. And I said, a little bit hyperbolic. And he actually said, yes, it was. And I apologized. He apologized. It was incredible. But what they did was they killed the Hunter Biden laptop story right before a presidential election and affected its outcome.
What do you think will come next? I mean, you've got some attorney generals in the states that are actually deposing some of these big tech giants right now, getting additional information. What I see happening, Pat, is that this is coming from so many different angles. It's hard to keep a lie straight. And so I think you're going to see a lot of these folks tripped up because they've said one thing over here thinking they're going to be covered forever because they just have a monopoly. But that's not the case anymore.
Yes, there's literally a new sheriff in town. And when you lie, you get a tangled web, right? And you can't keep it straight. So one of the things that I talked about today, too, was Joe Biden said, Tony, in 2019, that he had no knowledge of his son's overseas business dealings. He was then candidate Joe Biden. Okay, that sounds good on the surface, and then the mainstream media dismissed the issue. But the evidence showed in the New York Post story that his laptop, Hunter Biden's laptop, showed that his father had extensive meetings with his son's business associates, Miguel Velasco and Magnani, Mexican business associates. There's a picture of Biden giving them a tour of the White House in 2014. He went to dinner at Cafe Milano with Kazakhstan business associates of his sons. He had a teleconference call with Carlos Slim in 2015, the Mexican billionaire, and it goes on and on. He met with an executive at Burisma, where his son then magically made millions of dollars, and it's basically an energy firm over in Ukraine. So he lied. They covered that story up, and Media Research Center did a poll that said Democratic voters, 70% of them in swing states, would have changed their vote if they had known about this information. So that's pretty damning. So
will this lead to further hearings?
I think so, absolutely. We're going to go where the evidence leads us, because there's also some things we didn't talk about today, because this is more Twitter. But there are 150 SARs, which are suspicious activity reports. These are things that are generated on people like Bernie Madoff. They're doing very shady, very odd things. Not every SAR leads to a criminal or an indictable offense, but it's odd. And if you have a couple of them, that would be something that would be concerning. The Biden family has 150 SARs filed against them, and we're being denied access to them right now. So we need to find out what those 150 were, because I believe that that might reveal that the president of the United States is actually compromised, which would be horrible.
Who's denying you access as a member of Congress, as a committee with oversight?
Yeah. Oh, the Department of Justice right now.
Well, how is it that former President Trump's tax records could be released to the public and a congressional oversight committee can't get access to this information that is a part of their official duty?
Yes, well, it's a double standard, and if liberals didn't have double standards, Tony, they would have no standards at all. So now that we have subpoena power, I think things will change, but we could not get them before. We certainly hope we can get them now, because if there's nothing to hide, then just release them. What is there to do? I mean, the media lies about us all the time. You know, I'm just a small fry member of Congress, but President Trump was lied about constantly. I welcome scrutiny. I don't care. I'd love to talk about it, because anything that they talk about with us is not going to be true as far as, you know, any negative ethics issues or anything like that. So why is he hiding it? Why is he cutting tail and running?
Final question for you, and I know you got to go to another meeting, and I appreciate you taking time to join us. Is it your sense, based on what you're saying, and I'm not asking you to make it declarative, I'm just asking your sense of this, as you see what Twitter did, and of course we have the benefit of the Twitter files from Elon Musk, so we can look behind the curtain and we can see that this has happened. Is it your sense that the other social media giants have been doing the same thing?
Yes, there's no doubt. I mean, what Elon Musk's $44 billion revealed was our worst fears realized. We thought this was really happening, and now we know it was. And I suspect, just from being a conservative, I'm sure you've been a victim to it as well, the shadow banning, we don't get a lot of play unless you're promoting. It's just very odd. And we actually entered into the record today. Jamie Raskin had a tweet condemning the Border Patrol for whipping Haitian migrants back in, I think it was June of 2021. Well, it was up for an entire year. It was proven to be patently false. That's either misinformation or certainly it was a mistake. And they never took it down. It's still up to this day. So they were very selective with what they called misinformation.
Well, as you said, if it weren't for double standards, they would have no standards at all. Congressman Pat Fallon, always great to talk with you. Thanks so much for taking time to fill us in.